and life is good to you, at some point in time, if you have a good sense of self-care, you know what that feels like. Nobody can tell you that. In most cases, I think you know what peace of mind and contentment is. It has nothing to do with wealth and your standing, just where you are mentally. Peace of mind and contentment. Are you ready? Thank you for entertaining my thoughts.
Good morning, everyone. Are you ready to learn? Can everybody see the screen? And then you gotta get able to sit everybody in position. Okay, so Ted pretty much told you what Red LA is. How it's rigid and digital divide. I just want to know, are any representatives here from any of the city official offices? Because I know a couple of us trying to come later. So I just want to make sure. Leo. Okay. Okay, so whoever Mimi is, I'm Tori Bailey. Okay. People meaning audience or people helping? Okay. Okay. If everyone in the audience could respect everyone in the audience so we can learn and hear effectively. That would be wonderful because this is something that is very crucial to technology moving forward. So that's been my area in education was technology and health information and privacy and confidentiality of our people in the community. So let's be respectful. If you need to talk or you have any questions, raise your hand and we'll be happy to answer anything. But you guys, everybody in this community need to take advantage of this because free, right now, free is important. Everything is important. Everything's going electronic. People got to learn when you get these scam calls not to ask 50 questions, not to say yes. People have a tendency to say, "Is this Tori?" "Yes, this is me." No, don't say that. Say, "Who's calling?" That's the most you really should say. If they don't answer by then, hang up the phone. Because when you pick up the phone, they have a mechanism called phishing. PHISHING. And they can fish your data right out of that system. So technology is way surpassed than what you see on a daily basis. So just let's be cautious. Don't sit on the phone trying to figure out who's calling you. If it's that important, they'll call you back. But don't hang on and let them gather your data while you try to figure out who's on the other line. If it's someone that you're not used to talking to, it's just somebody trying to get information from you or sell you something or buy your house, which they do every other day. Now, Isaac, let me know when you're ready. You ready? Okay, let's put your hands together for a Bridge LA Digital Divide. Thank you.
Good morning, good morning. I'm so happy that you were able to make it today. Thank you for showing up. That means you're showing up for the community. I'm Isaac. Many of you know me as your teacher, and I'm your teacher. So today we're going to, I hope by the time we leave this place, we learn two things. Somehow a way on how we can protect ourselves in this digital world that we are living in, but most importantly, being aware, because if there is a problem and you're not aware of the problem, then you're worse off. But when you know that something exists, then in every way, in everything that you do, you try to protect yourself at least. You know what I mean? All right. So today we are going to talk about data breach. Data breach means, as the screen says, no, let's go to the first slide. It says, who am I, really? What does that mean when someone says, who am I, or who are you as yourself? In my opinion, I've come to learn that me personally, as a physical person, I don't exist other than the information about me. What's the information about me? The information about me is my names, my social security number, my address, my phone number, and my driver's license. The reason I'm saying this is today, or as you're seated here, if you called your bank right now, what would they ask you? That information on the screen, right? So that means that anybody who has that information can be you. You know what I mean? So that means your physical presence matters, so your physical appearance matters, but your information matters way more than you in the physical person, because all of us have a bank account right here, right? But I believe if you went and walked in any bank, you wouldn't say, hey, I'm here to get some money for my account. And they say, oh, okay, we know you, you're Isaac. And they give you the money. Do you think that would happen? No. They still ask you for your ID. They ask you for your debit card. You put in your PIN and all that information. So that means you as a person doesn't matter. So if another person went with an ID with the same names and the credit card or the debit card with the name, they would still give them service as though it was you. So that means it's what matters the most is your information. Are we on the same page? Okay. So the reason we are going to discuss that topic is many of you, so for the last 3 years I've been teaching seniors, and not everybody here is a senior, you know. Everybody who has learned some form of technology or digital skills from me has been my student. So I'm sorry if I say senior too much, you know, I'm just used to being with seniors too much nowadays. You know what I mean? So anyway, the reason I brought this subject and this seminar here is because many of my students, when I ask them in class that, do you know what the word data breach means? Nobody knew what data breach was, literally, you know. But what data breach means, basically, it means access of an unauthorized person accessing private information. So for example, if I walk to you right now and say, give me your driver's license, would you give it to me? You would not, because I have no reasons to get your driver's license. That means that's your personal information, right? Your social security number is your private information. You don't simply give it to anybody that you come across, right? So when they say data breach, it means someone illegally accessed information they're not supposed to access, or they're not supposed to have access to. For example, if you saw someone putting their hands in your handbag right now, even though you know that you don't even have money in your handbag, it's still your handbag, right? You feel violated by someone getting into something. So we know that every time you access something you're not authorized to. For example, if someone asked you here that, how did you come into this shopping mall today? And you tell them I came through the window, that's breaching the building. You know what I mean? Because we all know that to come in this building, you have to come through those doors. And to come through those doors, you can only come through those doors during business hours when they are open for you. Some people arrived here at 9 and the doors were closed. And there were people inside, but they wouldn't let them in because there is a specific time that the public is authorized to come into this building. So if you came in here before the time, that means you have breached the security of this building. You know what I mean? So data breach is things that we have been experiencing in our daily lives, meaning someone reaching into something they're not supposed to. When it comes to technology, your data is everything that you have. Because like we said, if you walked into the bank right now and say, I would like to open a bank account, they'll ask for your name, for your social security number, for your address. They're not going to say, let's take your picture. No, because your picture doesn't matter very, very much. Yes, they take your driver's license, you know, but that means anybody who comes with a driver's license with your picture on it will create an account in the same names. You know what I mean? So with that said, we are going to learn what data breach is and how it affects us and why we are here today. So recently, I think you've heard of, you must have been hearing a lot of the word data breach of recent, especially if you are an AT&T customer. Now, if you are an AT&T customer, or anybody who's lived for at least 10, 20 years, your information has been collected as long as you have lived. And if you're a senior, that means your information has been collected for at least 50 years. You know what I mean? Because if a kid who is 10 today, they may not worry that their information was compromised with AT&T data breach. But if you are more than 10 years old, that means your information in some way, somehow has been compromised. Let's go to the next slide. So, how valuable is PII? PII means personal identifiable information. That means you. That's why I was asking in the beginning that, who am I? PII is who you are. Personal identifiable information. Every time you hand someone your driver's license, they know about you. They know your name, they know your age, they know where you live, or your address, whatever is on the driver's license, right? You know, when a cop stops you for a ticket, he asks you, do you still live on this address? And you're supposed to say yes or no. You know what I mean? If you say no, they say, hey, you need to go and change it to your current address. So your driver's license is one of the most important PII that you carry with you. Now, what happens when you go to different organizations and companies, they ask for your PII, your personal identifiable information. You're going to open a bank account, you give them a list of, go back to the previous slide. You give them a list of that entire information. You go to buy a house, you give them all that information. You go to to get a cell phone, you give them that information. You go to rent an apartment, you give them that information. You go to school, you give them that information. So you tell me which part of your life that's important, that defines you, that you don't give that information. You see? So that means your information is very, very important. Now, what's happening is you don't trust me with your information. You don't trust your neighbor with your information, but you trust these big companies and other organizations that provide you service with your information, right? Because you want service from them. When you give them this information, they promise you that they are going to protect your information to keep it safe. And indeed, probably they try to keep it safe. But when data breach happens, we know what happens. When data breach happens, it's like someone breaking into your house. You put on an alarm, you locked your door and did everything you could, but someone still broke into your house. You know what I mean? So when data breach happens, especially when data breach happens from organizations or companies that you gave your information, they take more than the information that you may lose if you lost your handbag. For example, today you're here with your handbag. I'm sure each one of us have your ID in your handbag. I'm sure many of us have your credit cards. And mostly that's it. Some people may have their social security card, but not very many, right? So if you lost your handbag today, you would have lost just a few information about you, right? But any one of you right now, if you lost your handbag, you'd start panicking right away. You're like, where did I put my handbag? Where did I do my ID? You know what I mean? You start calling home to see if you left your handbag home, even though you know that you really came with that wallet with you, you know. So the same level of concern, the same level of panic that you go through, the same level of emotions that you go through, should be the same concept you should look at when you hear the word data breach. Now, I'm going to show you a list of companies that have so far been compromised. And then you'll see what I mean. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, let's go next. Go. Let's continue. Go. Okay, keep going. Go back up. Yeah, up. One up. Yeah. Okay. So, among the technology companies In 2022, they compromised Twitter's information and 4.4 million people's information was taken. Now, Twitter doesn't really collect as much information as most companies because you can have a Twitter account that may not even have your actual information. But regardless, if you want to be, if you want your profile to be approved or to get those blue check mark that shows that you're verified, you have to put in your actual information. So Twitter said 5.4 million people's information was compromised in 2022. Uber said 57 million people. You know, if you use Uber, that means you have your actual information in there because you put in your name, your address, your credit card information, and what other information. 57 million people in 2022. T-Mobile had 37 million customers' information stolen. AT&T in 2023, they had 20 million, and in 2024, they had 73 million people. Verizon, they had 14 million people. Then we have Equifax. If you know anything about credit or credit history, Equifax is one of the largest companies that collects everybody's information regardless of whether you're trying to buy something or not. Somehow this company is able to collect information from all other institutions and put it in one place. They find your credit history, they find how many credit cards you have, they find if you have any property or any asset, if you have any cars, everything is with this company Equifax. In 2017, 147 million people's information was stolen. Now, unless you are very special, you cannot say that among all the list of these companies whose information has been compromised, your information has not been part of it. Now, some of you, some of us, your information may have been stolen more than 10 times based on what companies you've worked with. And now remember, these are just a few companies. You know, some companies do announce when this happens, others don't. Others give the numbers, others don't. You know what I mean? Now, for example, when the data was compromised with AT&T, they sent out letters. I received a letter, but I've not been an AT&T customer since 2012. But I still received the letter because they stole my information that they had collected so many years back. I received a letter that told me that I need to go online and sign up with a company. I think it was either Equifax or Experian, and they will give me 1 year free service of to monitor my credit or to monitor my information for me. Now, I believe every person who is an AT&T customer received that similar letter. Some people didn't receive it, some people did. Yet, as long as you are an AT&T customer, you are affected in one way or the other. Now, if you received the letter, most young people were able to go to the internet and do what the letter said. But most seniors or most people who are not familiar with technology, they are unable to do that. So that means your information right now is somewhere and anybody can use it as they please. And you wouldn't know. That's why I tell you that one of the important things I would like us to do today is to be aware, you know, because if you don't know that that's something like that happened and your information is floating somewhere all over the world, then you can't know what's going to happen to you tomorrow. Now, with that said, as you can see the list, we have Cash App, we have Flagstaff Bank, we have Morgan Stanley, we have First Horizon, JP Morgan, HSBC, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citibank, Goldman Sachs, Barclays. Then we have healthcare and insurance, we have Target, we have Neiman Marcus, we have Bed and Bath, we have DoorDash. Next. Kroger's, yeah. We have IRS, you know, these are the government public sectors whose information has been compromised too. IRS, we have the US Office of Personnel and Management, more than 21 million federal employees' information and individuals. We have the Department of Veterans. We have California Department of Motor Vehicles, that's DMV. We have the UPS, which is the United Postal Service. We have Georgia Department of Human Resource Services, Los Angeles Unified District, Tennessee State University. Next, Fernando. Then we have Purdue University and so on and so forth. All I'm trying to say is you can see how many companies have been compromised. Those that we know, or that those that announced that this happened, right? But there may be so many which didn't announce that. Now, when that happens, what happens to you? Now, there are so many things that happen when your information is stolen. So the first thing is this information, just like everything else, information is the most important thing about you. Every time someone knows about you, so let's say if someone knows your birthday, if your friend knows your birthday, what do? They buy you a birthday gift when your birthday comes, right? When you have a grandkid or grandchild or granddaughter, when their birthday comes, you buy them a gift because you know their information, right? If you have a house, then insurance companies try to sell you insurance, homeowners insurance, right? If you have a car, they try to sell you a car insurance. If they know that, if you have 20,000 in your bank account, every bank starts calling you, do you want a credit card? You know what I mean? So all these things that you've been experiencing every day, every time someone has any small information about you, they're able to sell you things. That's why when you go and buy a car, the next phone call you receive is from an insurance company. When you receive it from, you say, how did they know? But because all those companies share information, right? So every time you do something, it leads to another, and it leads to another, and it leads to another, right? So when your information is stolen, it's put on the dark web. I don't know if any of you knows dark web, but I've mentioned this in the class, and none of my students knew what the dark web is. Now, these are very simple words that I want you to learn today as well. So we know what data breach means. Data breach means illegal entry or illegal access to private data, right? Private data is things you don't want other people to know. It can be anything, but it's things you don't want people to know unless they have to. You know, you don't want anybody knowing your social security number, right? You don't want anybody knowing your driver's license unless they have to. You know what I mean? So now with that said, we know that data breach means someone accesses information they're not supposed to. Then we have what they call the dark web. The dark web is a market that's not readily available for the public, but all of us know what the dark web is. I'm going to explain what it is. The dark web is like a drug dealer. So for example, if I ask anybody here that I want to buy some weed, can anybody point me to someone who sells weed here? No. But we know that people buy and sell weed every day. You get the idea? We know that people buy and sell weed every day, but nobody can point out and say, hey, I know that person is a drug dealer or is a weed dealer. So when I say that dark web, that's what I mean. There is a market out there that many of us may not know, but it's there. You know, like my friends sometimes take me to club in a building that I've been passing on all my life, and I never knew that there was a club there. You know what I mean? So that means only those who know. You get the idea? So the dark web is like that. If you go to Google, or right now, if I ask someone, do you know where Wells Fargo Bank is? Someone say, oh yeah, it's right there. Because we all know, right? But if someone asks you, do you know where the place where Wells Fargo keeps their money is, would anybody know where they keep their money? No, we all know the branches, but we know they don't keep money at the branches, right? They must have like a central place where they have loads and loads of money, right? So that means that's what dark web is. Places that are available but not readily available for the public just to walk and say, that's this, that's that, that's that. So when you hear that your information has been compromised and it's being sold on the dark web, it means it's a place that not everybody knows. Only those who know. Okay? Now, like everything else, if someone is selling something, there is usually people who are trying to buy it, right? See how people buy drugs? Because there are people who are demanding drugs. If there was no demand for drugs, then those people would not even be selling that, you know? So your information, like I told you from the beginning, the most important thing you own as an individual is your information. Every time someone gets hold of your information, they can sell it over and over and over. Now, I don't know if any of you here has ever changed their social security number. Do we know anybody here who said, hey, last year I called and they changed my social security number? You see, there is none. So that means they assigned you that social security number the day you were born or the day you were neutralized as an American citizen, and it will stay with you forever. So when you lose it and another person has it, that means they can reuse it and reuse it and reuse it. Now, someone may reuse it and you catch them, and then next day someone else reuses it. So that means it's unending problems for you. What happens when your information is stolen? When your information is stolen, first of all, like we said in the beginning, I can walk into the bank and open a new bank account. Isaac, give us your information. I give them an ID. You know, you can find a fake ID in LA, right? So someone can go and get a fake ID, put your name there, put his or her picture there, walks into the bank. Your information is being sold on the dark web. So meaning they went to the dark web and bought information. They made an ID with that information. Then they walk into any bank. Say, okay, I need a bank account. They give them a bank account. If you've been a hardworking individual all your life, that means you have good credit and all things said, probably having a property. Then he says, now I need a credit card. They give them a credit card. Now I need a bank loan. Then they give them a bank loan. You are home seated. 6 months later, 1 year later, you see FBI or cops at your door saying that you took money from the bank and you've not been paying. You know what I mean? You say, what are you talking about? I've not taken any money. I've done any loans or whatever. But they came to your door because they associate you with your personal identifiable information, especially your social security number, which never changes. You get the idea? So what happens is now they pick you up, they take you to police or to court or whatever, and you have to prove that you are not that person. That doesn't take overnight. It will take over your life because you have to hire a lawyer, and it will be back and forth in different courts, fighting with different companies that person compromised or used your name to do whatever they wanted. You get the idea? So now when that happens, by the time you finish, it could be years later. It has taken away your life. It has cost you so much money. And then when the ordeal ends, you realize you spent almost $100,000 or $200,000 to clear your name, and they're not going to refund you, that they are refunding you the costs of the pain you went through. No. You are just proving that wasn't you. You have proved it. Now it's time for you to walk. You get the idea? So you can see how it affects you. Someone can go open up new bank accounts. Someone can go rent apartment. Someone can go get a new house. Now for seniors, this is the worst part of it. Someone can take your information in healthcare and call for your benefits. You know what I mean? If you have insurance, someone calls and say, oh, I would like to order this. I would like to order surgery. I would like to order this. And insurance will pay for those things, thinking it's you. Now, by the time you call when you're sick and you need that help, they say you exhausted your insurance premium. Now, you are sick, you have problems, and insurance says you max out your premium. And you know how hard it is to prove to insurance that wasn't you. That's totally a whole different game, because most insurance companies, you don't even meet them, you know? So meaning you're going to deal with people on the phone that you keep telling me that wasn't me. They say that was you. Someone gave us your social security number, gave us your address, you know? Now, among the examples I gave you, I showed you postal service. Who among us here, we all know that if I wanted to change my address, I just fill up a small form and send it to the post office. You do not have to go to the post office to change your address, unless I'm mistaken. Do you have to go to the post office to change your address? So that means if someone has bought your information, he has your social security, all he needs is to fill up a small form or call in and tell them I moved. And they'll change the mail delivery to another location. If you read the news, let's see, let's go to the next slide. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, so keep going. So if you read the news, you have learned that. So for example, there is a lady in Silicon Valley. I think it's on the next slide. Go next. Next. Yeah, right there. So this lady, she works in Silicon Valley. All of us know that when you hear the word Silicon Valley, you think that's where technology started, or that's where technology thrives. Or everybody who is there is at least technologically smart, right? But this young lady saw a house on the internet that she was always wanted. She called the people, she went through escrow. As soon as she finished, she wired what happened, she wired money to the people who are selling the house, 400,000. Now, when she was, like I said, what happened is when she started conversation with the real estate company that was selling the house, the company's servers or emails have already been compromised. You know, I think I have a screenshot somewhere. FBI said like last year in 2023, more than 23,000 companies reported that their email had been compromised. That's 23 companies, and those must be major big companies, right? So this woman sends an email, someone taps it in the middle and changes the information and then lets it go. Then they reply, he taps it in the middle, then makes changes and then lets it go, right? So it was a Friday evening. She wins the bid of the house. Then in that evening, she receives an email that says, hey, congratulations for winning the bid. Now it's time for you to pay up. They gave her the bank account information. She wires 400,000 right away. Because when you get the house that you really wanted, you're excited. You say, hey, let me get this done by Monday. I may have my keys. But we all know realistically that even if you bought a house today, that by the time the real estate agents and companies finish the process, it's usually 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month later, right? But excitement of the people. She sends the information. Monday morning, they call her and say, okay, well, congratulations for winning the bid. Now let's start the process of processing your house and documentation, and then you can send payment. She's like, payment? What are you talking about? I sent payment on Friday. Now remember, this is Friday. That means those are 4 days or almost 3 days by the time Monday comes for someone to wipe their accounts of the money they received or transfer it to somewhere else. You get the idea? That's 400,000 gone. I think I have another slide. Go up, maybe. Keep going. Keep going. Then there is another example that I had prepared, but anyway, you can see how confused I am right now. But another gentleman in Arizona, he bought his land thinking that's his retirement plan, right? So he's working somewhere. He says, I'm going to buy a land. When I retire in a few years, I can go build myself my house that I want and then retire there. Like last month, because the news were like last month, he received a letter congratulating him. Hey, congratulations for selling your land. He bought it for 75, I think in like 2017. Now in 2024, they sold it for 200,000, which is an excellent profit, right? He's like, what are you talking about that I sold my land? You understand? Someone had changed his title, sold the land, took the money. Now, how do you even begin? Because no bank will listen to you. No seller will listen to you. The buyer has his documentations that shows that this person bought the land and you sold the land. So you can see how things can get complicated, Now, when you are a senior, it's even worse because you're already tired. Now, dealing with such kind of things can be a pain. You get the idea? Everything starts with your information because someone stole your information. Now, if someone stole your information, I don't know whose phone that is, but if someone stole your information, that means they can do anything with it. They can change your address. They can buy a house in your name. They can rent an apartment in your name. They can get new credit cards. They can buy cars. They can do things that will permanently damage your life. And like I said, our information never changes. You don't say that, hey, they stole my information last week. I'm going to go and change my name tomorrow. Has anybody changed their name recently because they stole the information? No. Your information remains the same. Your social security number remains the same. You may change addresses, but the important information remains the same. So meaning it only takes to be stolen once and you have a lifetime of suffering. Now, we are in times of technology whereby our communication is through the internet. You can rarely speak to anybody on the phone nowadays. You know, when you speak to the phone, almost all people are like robots. They ask you 2 questions. If you can't answer one, then they hang up. Then you have to start all over, you know. So you must start living as though someone has already stolen your information. Why do I say that? All of us have already been living like someone is out there to steal from us. Did everybody drive? Those who drove here, is there any one of you who didn't lock their car when they came in here? Each one of you locked your car, right? As soon as you left your house, what was the last thing you did? You locked your door. You set up your alarm, right? You see? That means you've been doing these things every day. Yet, every time I tell my students that, hey, you need to put a lock on your cell phone. A lock is only 4 digits. 1, 2, 3, 4. Create any of those and create a digit to lock your phone. They say, no, Isaac, I don't want to be, every time I have to unlock the phone to use it. You're like, okay, you see how you feel that that's really hard? Yet every day you try to lock your car and you even go around your car checking the doors to make sure that they are locked correctly. You go to your house, you lock your house, you turn the knob to make sure it's locked, you set on the alarm, yet all those things even cost you money, because to put the door on your house, it costs you money. To put a lock, it costs you money. To put an alarm system, you pay for it every month. If you put cameras, you're paying for cameras. That costs money, right? Yet you find putting a small code on your cell phone difficult or inconveniencing. But now we see that your information is almost as important as the house you have at home, and almost more valuable than the property you have. Because that property, by the time you're seated here, by the time you go home, that property may no longer be yours. You know what I mean? What I mean is, if someone steals your information, starts the process of changing the name of your house into their name, most seniors have no idea these things are happening. You know what I mean? Because I told you, someone stole your information, contacted the post office, and they changed your address where they deliver the mail. So that means things are going to be happening without you knowing. Now, we are living in times where most organizations or companies communicate by email, which is an easier and convenient way to communicate. But many of us are not used to it, because when I go to my classes, I tell my students, okay, you know the drill. Let's sign into our email. And good enough, everybody signs into their email. And then they sit down. They're like, okay, but you have 20 emails. You have not opened any of them. Signing into your email means you sign in and you read each. Because every time you go home, you go to your mailbox, you pick up your mail, you go inside your house, what do? You open each mail and throw away junk and try to do something about important mail that you need to correspond with. You know what I mean? So that means if you receive an email in your email, for example, if your bank says, like most banks nowadays, they send e-statements, electronic statements, meaning they no longer want to print paper. Most banks are saying printing paper wastes trees, or we have to cut so many trees, right? And we're trying to save the planet. So let's cut out paper and send an email, which is, it works and it's true and it's a good thing. But most seniors say, no, I want paper. But anyway, when the bank says we are going to send e-statements, there's nothing you can do, right? So if they send you your statement and you don't open your email to see those statements, what happens? That means you don't know what's in your bank. But if you open those emails and see the communications, then you're able to do something about it. Are we together? I know it may be too much information, but these things, this is real life that we are living, This is like the real life we are living. That's all I'm trying to say. Being aware is very, very important. See, I told some of my students that, you can download your bank app on your cell phone, and every day you're able to know how much money you have in your account. You're able to know if you bought Starbucks in the morning. You're able to know if you paid your electricity bill on what date you did. You're able to know when, whenever anything small happens, just by clicking on one app on your cell phone, right? But if you don't, That means if your information happens to be stolen, someone can go and use your credit card as much as they want because they are confident you're not going to check it until 30 days later. Now, after 30 days, you cannot come and say, this wasn't me, because now banks think you know earlier than later. You get the idea? Most banks think, hey, you could not have waited for 30 days and then said that. And then, of course, nowadays we have a tendency of not opening mail, right? So you go to your house and you have all this junk mail from Ralph's and all these advertisements, and good mail like your bank statement may go through that. So you did not check it. 2 months, 3 months, 6 months later, your whole life is turned upside down because so many things have happened and you have no idea. Yet if you had a small app on your cell phone, you could just by click, you're able to see everything happening to any of your credit cards, because every institution that you have a relationship with has an account for you. For example, let's say Spectrum. See Spectrum? Many of us have Spectrum internet at our house, but none of us log into our Spectrum account. You only wait 30 days to receive an invoice and say whether you paid, you see whether it has changed. Yet everyone who has an account has an online account. You just download the Spectrum app on your cell phone and you log in. You're able to see your bill. You're able to see what problems are happening with your internet. You're able to see if there was an outage. You're able to see whether your bill has changed from last month to this month. You're able to see whether you're paying more than your neighbor so they can reduce your price for you. You get the idea? But when you don't check these things, you just wait for the papers that you rarely check, you're missing out on what things are happening every day. Your cell phones are safe. See, some students and some seniors think that cell phones are not safe. Your cell phones are safe as long as you have your padlock there, the passcode that protects it. Most of our cell phones, when you're not using it for 10 minutes, it locks itself, meaning anybody else who is going to access it has to know your code. You get the idea? Our emails. Every time you sign into your email, it says, well, Isaac, you have entered the correct username, you have entered the correct password, but we are going to send a text message to your mobile phone to verify that that's you. You get the idea? That protects you. Those are what they call two-factor authentication. We've all heard of such words like two-factor authentication. And we're like, okay, now what's that? Like many of my students, whenever they try to sign into their email, because most of them, I told them, hey, we have to put second-step verification. And we did. But every time they sign into their email when they come to class, and it pops up a message, say, hey, now you have to check your phone. They're like, Isaac, why do I have to check my phone? I left my phone at home. I left my phone in the car. You know, it feels like it's an inconvenience. Yet we have been doing this all the time. How? Every time we go to the bank, the first thing you pick up is your debit card or your credit card or whatever, right? Then you put it in the machine. When you put it in the machine, what does it do? It asks you for the PIN, right? Then you put in the PIN. Now, you would think that that information is enough to verify who you are, right? But they don't stop there and say, okay, now show us your ID. Then you have to show them your ID. All those are first step verification, second step, third step. You got almost 4 things to verify that that's you. Yet, when you sign into your email and it sends you just one time, you feel like it's so much inconveniencing, you know. Yet we started by saying that the most important thing that you own is your information. Your information is your property. Your information is everything that you own. You get the idea? Because you may have a car, but if someone goes and changes your address and they send them a new title of the car, that's no longer your car. Someone will come to your home and say, that's my car, I'm here to pick it up. So your information is very, very important. So let's consider protecting our information as one of the most primary things we need to do. Now, it brings us to the organizations that collect the information. Now, when it comes to organizations that collect your information, I think at the moment it's too late because we have given them so much leeway. You know, like they keep changing the goalposts, and as people, we keep moving with the goalposts. Because if a company promised to protect your information and now they have stolen it from them, many of my students don't want to use technology or internet because they feel it's not safe, right? So meaning they started protecting themselves by staying away from it altogether, even though it's supposed to make their life easier, right? But then the people they entrusted it with have lost it. So who is to blame now? The company that protected the information, right? But how many of the companies I listed on the screen have you heard from telling you that, hey, your information was lost and we are going to protect you for the rest of your life? This is the first time many of you are seeing those lists, isn't it? So if it's the first time you're seeing it, and in one way or the other, all of us in one way or the other have had their information compromised, then who is responsible? That's a question I cannot answer. I will leave it to you to find a way to either ask. I mean, we have representatives, right? We have governments that are supposed to protect us. The governments are supposed to speak for us, right? So I don't know how we are going to approach that. But these things are happening every day, and it's affecting everybody. Seniors, veterans, young people, and everybody, right? But it affects seniors the most because they are the ones who are not technologically user-friendly as younger people. Are we together? So with that said, I'll take some questions. Fernando, we need a mic.
Is there any way you can find out how to get on the dark web?
All right. Did you hear that question? Okay. She asked that, is there any way to find out how to get on the dark web? Okay. So you remember how I explained what the dark web is, right? So it's like, okay, Isaac, do you know any drug dealers? That's the same question, you know?
Yes.
That's a very good question. But how to find a drug dealer, huh? Let me think about that. Because going to the dark web is who you know.
You have to be a criminal to know, right?
Not necessarily, but you have to have a state of mind of a criminal because you want to do something criminal, you know? So anyway, what I'm trying to say is someone, like I said, you have to know because these things are not in one place. So for example, if I know about it, in the morning it has already changed. So there are circles and loopholes you have to jump to get where you're supposed to go. You know what I mean? Okay, for example, people who sell drugs on the street. 1 minute they are here, another minute they are there, another minute they are there, another minute you have just to call them, you know. So it's never straightforward. So nobody can say, hey, this is the path to the dark web. Because if they show you the path to the dark web, then it's no longer the dark web. That means everybody knows about it. But there is a browser, one moment, there's a browser called Tor. Can you?
Isaac,
Yes.
can we Google the dark web?
No. No, you cannot Google the dark web because that's why it's the dark web. It's not readily available.
But it's all out there in cyberspace.
Yes. Okay. So you see that icon, the orange, the onion? That onion is called Tor. Tor is the browser you use if you're trying to navigate the dark web world. It's like the private of browsers. You know what I mean?
Well,
Tor. Yes. Tor.
another question, Isaac.
Go for it.
So these breaches that they constantly have that you were showing,
Yes.
yeah, we lock our doors when we get out of the house and put the alarm systems on, but
Yes. How do you protect yourself from those?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Fernando, I think we have another question on this side.
You ready? You ready? I have a question. If your property is in a trust, are they still able to steal it?
Okay. So I will first answer how to protect yourself, and then I will answer if your property is in the trust. Okay, so to protect yourself, first of all, being aware is half of the problem solved. Like today, now we know that our information has somehow been breached out there. You know, just like I said, you lock your house because you think someone is after something inside your house. Even though you know you can leave your door open and you go back home and nobody entered it, right? But it's a habit that we have built. We always think in that mind, hey, I need to secure this. I mean, it's easy to break the door, but we still lock the house anyway. So the point is, when it comes to your data, being aware, just now knowing that, hey, my information may have been stolen out there, even though I may not know, or I don't see anything happen in the world where I am right now. Secondly, you need passwords. Passwords, when it comes to technology, I mean, there is no organization you have a relationship with today that doesn't have an internet address. Each one of them, your bank has your internet address or has an address where you can access it online. Your insurance, you pay your bills online. LADWP, LADWP, where you pay your water and power, you pay it online. I mean, that's the most essential basic thing, right? So that means every aspect of your life now can be done on the internet or online. And in order to do it online, you have to have a unique account that identifies who you are. If you have that unique account, that means it has a unique password and username, which only you must have. That's why you have a password. So you must have a password on each and everything that you have. You know, don't take anything for granted. Say, I don't have to lock that password. If you are my student, I've shown you some tips on how to create a simple yet strong password. I don't know if I should demonstrate it here because I don't want to take so much of your time. But anyway, you need to have a password and a strong password. You know, we are going to, when you go on our website, bridgela.org, the place where we put the lessons that we teach, they show you how to make simple yet strong passwords. So you need a password. So first of all, you need awareness. Secondly, you need a password. Another thing, you need second factor authentication. Just like the way you set alarm in your house and lock the door twice. That's the first one was to lock, the second was to set an alarm. That's two security options, right? So your email too, or any account that you have that you sign into, when you sign into it, add your phone number so that every time you sign in, it sends you a text message to verify that that's you. It's not as hard as you think. It's really so simple. So that's called second factor authentication. Number 3, if you feel or you think that your information has been compromised, log into your account and change that information. So for example, if AT&T say the information was compromised, what are you going to do? Log into AT&T and change your password. You get the idea? Because if you don't change it, then it remains the same. Another thing is they recommend changing passwords every 6 months. 6 months is not a very long time. I mean, it's a very long time, you know, something that, like I said, if you start treating your information the way you treat your car, because right now, if you stepped outside and someone is messing with your car, you will go crazy, right? Say, what are you doing with my car, right? So your information is more important than that car, because with your information, someone can get as many cars as they can, right? So that means you're going to protect it more. So if they say change it every 6 months, please change it every 6 months, because there is a possibility within 6 months period, your information was compromised somewhere. By the time someone gets your information, if you had changed your password, then you're in a better place. You get the idea? So what happens is when your information is stolen, it's not used right away. Because most of the time when information is stolen, they steal large amount, right? And remember, just like robocalls, you know how you receive robocalls at home? Nobody is seated there on those calls. That's the most annoying part of it. At least a few years ago, when you receive these robocalls, on the other end, there is someone who starts asking you questions. Hey, do you want to refinance your home? Do you want a credit card? You know those things? But now you receive robocalls that are just robots. So people who breach data are using robots to collect information. So if someone has collected 100,000 or 1 million records a day or a week or a month, they don't have time to process it because they are human beings too. So what they do is they cut them in chunks and they sell it on the internet. You can go on the internet and say, you know what? I need information for people who are above 45, living in Inglewood or living in South LA or living in this zip code. I need their name, their social security number, their address, and their phone number. And you will get it. You get the idea? So, yes, ma'am. We need a microphone, Fernando.
My bank account was hacked about 3 weeks ago,
Okay.
and I never have been on, put my cards online or any of that. I'm old fashioned. I go to the bank when I want money or something, or else I use my debit card to pay for, purchases.
Yes.
How did they get in my account?
Okay. Okay, so she says her bank account was compromised, yet she has never used the internet.
No,
She's one of our students, but she always go to the bank, no matter how much you tell her to use a cell phone.
that's right.
But guess what? Her information was in compromise. So you're like, how did that happen? Like I said, your information was stolen from any companies out there. Ma'am, you must be at least 45. Am I correct?
Not quite.
Yeah. Okay, so we have mom, she's 28 years old,
Okay.
and for the last 20 years old, her information has been collected. You see? So if someone tells you such number of information has been stolen, at some point her information is part of that information. Okay? So that means someone has your name, someone has your phone number. It's all have to do is call the bank. And they say, hey, I'm this and this. They say, okay, what's your social security number? This is my social security number. That's how they got your information.
The bank will give my information like that?
Yes, ma'am, because they already have information. The people who are calling have your information. Because when you call the bank, they ask for that information.
Right.
When they say that information has been compromised, it contains your name, your phone number, your social security number, your credit card number. So they have everything. The only thing they don't have is the face, and they really don't care about the face. Are you leaving? Okay. Sure. Okay. Tori would like to supplement on that.
Hi, Opal. Since I know most of you, I can attest to what Isaac just said about having the bank app on your phone, because immediately you know when something like that happens. And so a lot of times I was at, what's that bank where we have community meetings, US Bank one day, and somebody at that moment had taken something out of my account. But fortunately, I noticed, and I said, what's going on? And I was able to go in the bank immediately, and she corrected it. But they had to do some maneuvering and investigation to see what happened. But since she knew me, she fixed it immediately. So that's one thing. But I'm going to give you a real good example right now. A friend of ours was in the hospital. Section 8, landlord, these are for most landlords. Section 8 had terminated the contract in March. For 4 months, she didn't get paid. had she been able to look at that app or whatever while you're in the hospital, or, you know, have access right away instead of waiting those 30 days, she would have known she hadn't got paid for 4 months. And it ended up being 5 months because then they told her that she still had responsibility to do the legal eviction. So they had cut it off. So that means you're not getting any income for 4 or 5 months without knowing what's going on. So that's one thing for sure that it helps with when life happens. So that's something you got to think about. Pardon me?
To the bank, but they paid my money, $3,000, but they paid.
Here, Oprah.
I said,
Oh,
I went
okay.
to the bank and got it cleared. It was $3,000, but they gave me my money, the bank did.
Of course.
But I just wanted to know, I only use my debit card now and then when I purchase something. But as far as doing other accounts, I write checks and I don't know.
Pam is here from Holly Mitchell's office.
Yes.
Pam is here from Holly Mitchell's office, but whenever you get a chance, let her say a few words.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Isaac. Okay, two things happen on my phone that concern me.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll get.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I have two things that happen on my phone. They concern me. I will get a notification, virus has been detected, do da 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 da. So I will turn the phone off. But in other instances, I'll get a notification, new update available. Now I'm paranoid, so I don't do it either. So
Okay.
can your phone update by itself? And is it ever really true that a virus has been detected and someone's notifying you for your benefit?
Okay. Okay, I will answer that question.
Thank
But if it comes to the bank accounts, like she said that she never uses online, but her account was compromised. Like I said, the banks don't know your face. The bank knows your information. If you dial your bank right now, they ask for your name, your phone number, your social security number, your address, and your card number.
And your mother's maiden name.
Yes, that's, and your mother's maiden name. But remember, we looked at data breach. When they steal information, they steal everything, because when you set up questions, when you were opening your AT&T account or T-Mobile account or your bank account, those questions were on your form. So that means when you call in, your mother's maiden name is an answer the person on the other end is supposed to verify. You know what I mean? So what I mean, if you give them your social security number, how do they know that it's yours? By looking on the computer and see if it matches what you're saying, right? So that means that information is in their system. If they ask for the debit card or your credit card number, it's in the system. They are simply matching it with what you're reading, right? That means that maiden name question is part of their database as well. So if they say that our information was stolen, that means they have all that information. So that means it's not just you who can make that phone call. Anybody out there who has held your information or who bought your information from the dark web somewhere can call as it fits you. And he has all those answers as you have them. You see? So that's why I'm saying using the app on your phone will protect you. Because if right now I'm here, right? If someone in New York tried to swipe my card right now, immediately my bank will block them, because my bank tracks my phone. So they say, Isaac, we see your phone in LA. How suddenly are you swiping a card in New York? They send me a text message that says, Isaac, are you trying to use your card at this location in this city at this time? If it's me, I'll say yes. It could be someone I know that I gave the card. If I say yes, then they say, okay, now try the transaction again. But what protected me? Having the information associated with my phone. Yes, ma'am. How often should you? Yeah. Just like the way you receive phone calls. As soon as someone does it, you receive it right away. No. Yeah, if your phone is silent and in the handbag, then yes, you will miss it. But the good thing is it has blocked them until you say yes. You see, if they swiped the card, yes, go ahead. Okay, let me first finish this one. Now, remember they swiped my card and the bank blocked them. Isaac, we see someone using your card in New York and we know you're in LA. If it's you, please say yes. If you don't respond, meaning if my phone was on silent and it's in my bag or in my car and I did not say yes, then that transaction will not go through. So I'm protected.
So how long will they give you to answer yes? Or no?
Forever. I mean, you swiped the card right now because you're using it right now. So if 20 minutes later you're not responding, they will leave the card blocked because they'll know that that wasn't you. Because if it was you, that means you have your cell phone, you immediately pick it up to verify that that was you. You know what I mean? It's like having your cell phone nowadays. So let's say, for example, you left your house today to come here, right? Now, everybody at your house, they know that the only way they can find where you are is by your cell phone. Because they expect you to always have your cell phone most of the time. They know that you switch off your cell phone at 10 because that's when you go to sleep, and they know they can't reach you after 10 because they know your habits. You know what I mean? But as long as you're outside the house, they know you never leave your cell phone at home. That's the same knowledge your banks and institutions you work with go after to protect you, because they know you always have your cell phone with you. So if you someone swipes the card and it doesn't allow them and you don't say yes, that means that wasn't you.
Isaac,
Yes. Okay. Let me answer her question. She asked a question that her phone popped up a message that your cell phone has been compromised. Please click here to clean it or to fix it or whatever, right? That is a fake prompt. Now, when something like that comes, yes, like you said, you turned off your phone, you started it, and it worked fine. That was a smart move. Now, every time something like that happens, there is a pop-up, especially on Android phones. The people who make the phones find out that there is this virus going around their cell phones. They make an update, and then you receive something that says install update. But by you installing updates, sometimes you may install a virus instead, because the people who make viruses know that you will see an update and you say update. So I recommend you to go to your phone settings and turn on auto updates, so that when the auto updates from manufacturers come, they will not need your permission, because they are automatically allowed to install themselves. So there you don't have to say, should I install, should I not? You get the idea? So, yes.
Okay.
Fernando, you should pay attention and take
Yeah.
the microphone. People need it.
yeah, just as a point of clarity.
Yes.
So what you're saying in regards to the question that she asked
Yes.
is whether you are online or not, whether you load your information on there or not. The bank is loading your information on. So when you open an account, your bank is putting information into a database.
Yep.
And so that if somebody steals that data, it doesn't matter whether you
put
are
it or
online
not.
or not.
Yep.
They are online. And because they're online, they can get access to your information, whether you're using online or not.
Did you get the point? So what she's trying to say is, so do you remember when you went to the bank when your information was stolen or your money taken? When you went to the bank, did you see the people behind the counter using a computer, or did you see them writing on paper? They was using a computer, right? So that means your information is inside the computer. All computers are the same. That's why if you go to the branch downstairs, they have your information. If you go to the branch in Inglewood, they have your information. If you go to the branch in New York, they have your information. The only way that happens if the information is on the internet, shared by everywhere. And when they say data breach, it means someone somehow found a way to break into that communication platform, even if it's secure. You know what I mean? It's like you go into your house, and even if you locked the doors, you find that someone robbed you. Yet you locked your house. You know what I mean? It's robbery. People find ways to breach things.
Question.
Yeah.
A young lady asked a question a little bit earlier about the benefits of having a trust to secure the situation, and you
Yes.
never got back to that.
I'll answer that.
Okay.
Okay. So when it comes to the trust, that's the same thing, what they call title protection. You know, title protection. A trust is still information. You know, there is not, you cannot walk anywhere and say, oh, that's a trust. No, a trust is information at the end of the day. That means the trust has someone who leads it. When they want to verify information about that trust, they only verify the information of the individual on that trust. So meaning they can steal the house or the property in the trust the same way they can steal an individual's information. So it really doesn't make a difference when it comes to stealing. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it's a person. If you open a business, you know how we open businesses and they say there is a corporation and LLC and all those things, right? But at the end of the day, there is a person who is in charge. The social security number which they associate with that particular thing. So if you need help with your trust, you call your bank or the trust organization, right? If I call them, they are not going to give me your information. But if I call them and I know your information, then they're going to give me everything that's in the trust. You get the idea? So it's really, really the same at the end of the day. They need that particular information that identifies who is in charge and control of the trust. Yes.
Does the fingerprint help deter the stealing?
Does the fingerprint help? Like every security is something. You know what I mean? Yes, who has your fingers? Only you. You see? So meaning if you're using your finger on your phone, only you can access your phone. So if you left your phone here and someone stole it, they cannot use it unless they have your finger, right? But me personally, I prefer the code. Because if you're sleeping, someone can come and put the finger on the phone and open it. You know what I mean? Or they can put it on your face and it opens it. So I prefer the code regardless.
Okay.
Yes.
Two-prong
Yeah.
question.
Okay.
You were talking about the apps on your phone, how
Yes.
to protect you, like if somebody's trying to use your card in New York or whatever have you. So you suggest that like Macy's or Capital One, we put those apps on the phone as precaution for protection?
Because see, those are things that you ignore because you don't use them as often. So meaning if they are compromised and someone uses them, it will take you longer to know because you don't know what's happening until you receive a statement.
Okay.
And because you did not use it, you may not even pay attention to checking that statement. Hey, I'm not using this Macy's card. Let it just stay there.
Right.
So if you have the app on the phone, you're in complete control. That's all I'm trying to say.
Gotcha. And another question. You
Yes.
mentioned shutting the phone down at night.
Okay.
You just happened to mention that. Rarely do I turn my phone off. Do you suggest that's a good idea in the evening to just completely turn the phone off?
No. I only gave that example because she said that how about if so let's say if someone swiped my credit card and the notification came on my phone, but my phone was in silent or switched off or not accessible. What happens now? Then I told her that our cell phone are part of us now. For example, someone who wants to reach you right now can only do so by calling you. You left home unless you told everybody around your neighborhood and say, hey, I'm going to the conference at Baldwin Pressure Mall. Unless you did that, the only way anybody there who wants you right now can only reach you by phone call, right? There is a chance you may have left your phone in the house or in the car, but it's not so common because it's a mobile phone. It was designed for us to keep by us all the time. To be frank with you, I have a bad habit. As soon as I wake up in the morning, the first thing I see is my cell phone. Like my hands can't stay away from it. You know what I mean? So, and many of us are used to that now. So, switching it off, no, I was not just recommending it. I'm just saying, of course, if you want a good night's sleep, it's always good to switch off your phone, you know. And then, of course, your cell phone has settings where you can leave it on, but put it on do not disturb, and only add important people to call you. You know, it gives you options that choose 2 or 3 people in your life that are so important that no matter what, your phone should ring should they call. So there's options like that as well. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Caroline.
I was just going to say, I was going to validate what you said about with the fingerprint. That's what my nephew did to his mom while she was asleep. He just put the phone under there and opened the phone up anyway so he could play. And then again about the dark box. Now, if you start trying to get into that, don't they have people that are working undercover in that realm that you could get your name on a list if you start messing around with that kind of stuff?
Well, okay. That question is like going to the bank and you're trying to sneak through the bank boxes and they ask you, what are you doing? Oh, no, I'm just checking to see how do people rob banks, right? So you're putting yourself in a harm's way. That's all I'm saying, you know. Just imagine if that security is at that store that they, like stores that sell luxury, expensive things have security guards, right? So if the security guard is trying to see you trying to be sneaky, then you will capture their attention. They may just arrest you or do something. You know what I mean? So yes, the dark web, if everybody can use the browser, that's just a browser. Like I said, the browser called Tor, it allows you to go to the dark web because the law enforcement cannot access it. See, you see your cell phone? If each one of us here, if you gave me your cell phone, I would show you every place you have been since you had that cell phone. If you've had it for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years, it can show you right now that on September the 7th, from 11 a.m. to 1, you were at Crenshaw Baldwin Mall. Then it tells you that before you came here, you went here. Before you came there, you went there. So meaning it's tracking wherever you go, right? But when you use Tor, it stops the law enforcement from going in to see what you're doing. But like everything, nothing is really secure, because that's why they arrest people all the time. Because a law enforcement can go in there also to see what happens there. And then that's how they arrest people. You know what I mean? But no, going there, it's not going to make you a criminal right away. No. You know, but if you go there and you buy people's information and then a cop, you put it on your computer. Now your computer in one way or the other may not be as private as Tor. Then they will come and say, why do you have Isaac's security number on your computer? Why do you have 20 people's information on your computer? You see? Then that makes you a criminal. You get it? So yes, no, you are free to go and play with the dark web. But, you know, if you look for trouble, you always find trouble. Come again? Can you find information about your web? No. It's like someone tells you, you can buy drugs in LA. That's all the information. So let's say you're a guest visiting LA and you like to smoke. Someone said, you know what, you can find weed in LA. Don't worry, when you go there, you'll find it. But they don't tell you where to go. Now you come to LA, you have to do your homework. So you too, you may go to Tor. It's not that you're going to find what you're looking for. You have to know, because you have to know. You know what I mean? You have to put in the exact address you're looking for. What Tor does is it hides your identity, but you have to know where you're going. You know what I mean? Yes, ma'am.
You have to change every
6 months, I believe you said.
Yes.
Okay. I'm calling the bank and I said, change my password from Baldwin Hills to Lamert Park. How do they know that I am me? By my phone number?
You cannot call the bank and ask them to change your password.
I have to go on.
You have to go online and do it yourself. That's why I tell you that so many of these things you have to do them yourself. That's why I tell you that every organization you have a relationship with, you have an online account. But simply because you've never gone there to sign into it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You know what I mean? But the bank is not going to come and say, hey, you're going to, the least the bank does is to show you how to use your ATM when you just got a new ATM. But other than that, they let you deal with online. But they send lessons and they send emails that teaches you how to stay safe, how to log online, how to download an app and things like that. I wish they would provide more in-person services so that they can help people do that.
Yeah. You were just saying that
What
they
time
can
is it?
track wherever you are. If you turn off your location, can they still track you?
Yes. Just
So the only people that can't track you are the people that may be on your.
Yes, the other third-party people.
So that's just okay.
But when it comes like to law enforcement, your phone can die for like 48 hours and they can still find the location of the phone.
Okay.
That-
And where you've been.
And where you've been. That's why our cell phones, you can no longer remove the battery. You see the battery? It was locked in there, so it keeps all the information intact.
Oh, I'd just like to know, did you mention how do we protect our trust? How can we protect our trust?
How can you protect your trust?
Yes.
Well, it's protecting your information. As long as your information is safe, your trust is safe. Because like I said, there is no trust. The trust is you, the information that's within that trust. Because if someone calls with your information, then he can get everything like you're doing it as an individual level. You know what I mean? Because the trust is assigned to a name and a social security number.
Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Are there any programs or anything out there? Is there anything out there to protect our phones like McAfee or, you know how they used to sell that stuff? So
Yeah.
can we download something like ARC or something to?
So basically, if you have an Android or an iPhone and it's always up to date, you turn on auto update, then you are safe. You don't need to buy those extra things. But most people find comfort in buying additional that really doesn't serve much purpose. You know what I mean? Someone designed your iPhone and they try their very best to keep it secure. You get it? Because if they are not keeping it secure, then you're going to move on to something else. Because if I tell you, hey, go and buy this one because it's more secure, that means you're going to leave that phone to a more secure one, right? So all companies try their very best to keep their phones secure. But you could go ahead and buy Norton or AVG or these additional things, but your cell phones are already designed secure and they keep getting updates to keep them even more secure. Okay, so students.
Got one more question.
Yes.
You're an IT guy. What is a burner phone?
A burner phone, right? Okay. So a burner phone is something you use once and throw away. You get it? Now remember, if you've watched movies, you've seen that when you call someone and after 45 seconds, they can trace where that call is, right? But when you use a burner phone, as soon as you finish, you throw it away, they will not follow that phone. You know what I mean? Those are things that mostly people who do crime use because they don't want them to follow them. They don't use their regular phone. Because like I said, your cell phone, everywhere you drive, it keeps pinging towers. That's why when a crime happens in a place, they say, let's look on the cell phone tower and see how many cell phones were in that area as they are putting the strings together. And they say, Isaac, you have a relationship with this problem that happened, and we saw your cell phone in that vicinity at this particular time. So now you become a suspect. You know what I mean? So that's how they put the strings together to get to the answers they are looking for. But remember, they are blind. They're just putting possibility of answers. I could have just been passing through, but by coincidence, you know what I mean? So yeah, so burner phones are things you use once and throw away. Huh? They can't trace it. I mean, if you leave it on long enough, then they'll trace it. But it's called, they call them burner because you use it and burn it right away. You throw it away and, yeah.
I have noticed that there are a few websites that I have gone to that they're not asking you to log out. Even though you logged in, they're not asking you to log out. Is your information still floating if you don't log out?
Yeah, so if it's not your computer, see, if it's your PC or personal computer at home that's only you uses it and you don't log out, then it's like going to the garage and leaving your car doors open and the windows down and everything there. That means anybody can come in and do whatever they want. You are supposed to log out of anything you log into because nobody tells you in the garage that, hey, lock your car. As soon as you park it, you lock your car. You put your glasses out. You know what I mean? Every website that you log in has a logout. You just don't know how to do it. But the fact that you logged in, see, accessing the website and logging in are two different things. If it required you to log in, that means there's a logout. Yes. Okay. Yeah, we'll share that on our website and in class. So, students, I think that's it for today. I'll invite Miss Pamela Leo. She's the Assistant Deputy Workforce and Communication Development of the 2nd District of Los Angeles. She represents the Office of Supervisor Harley J. Mitchell. Please welcome her and let her represent her boss.
Thanks, Isaac. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming out this morning / afternoon. I'm Pamela Leo. I am Deputy for Economic and Community Development for Supervisor Holly Mitchell, who represents the 2nd District. And if you live in the area, she probably represents you. And I just wanted, in the spirit of this conversation, just uplift that the county has a department called the the Department of Consumer and Business Affairs. They provide a lot of free services from topics related to homeownership to support for tenants and landlords, helping you open a bank account, things like that. They also have a lot of information about fraud and how to protect yourself and resources specifically for seniors. And you can call them. They have a lot of information online, but I did want to, let me find the phone number. Sorry? Oh, okay, great. Yeah, if you just type in dcba.lacounty.gov. D as in dog, C as in cookie, B as in bus, DCBA. Sorry, A is an apple, .lacounty.gov, the Department of Consumer and Business Affairs. I think DCBA. Yes. And the phone number should be, if you scroll down at the bottom, here, I also have it. Let me. So the number is 800-593-8222. I did not, but I have my card. My card is in the back at the table. I also have them on my person if you want to come and say hi. And if you have any questions or concerns about fraud, you can email me or find DCBA online or call with the number I just gave. And folks on the phone will be able to walk you through, and they also have the information online. So if you're experiencing any type of fraud or just want more information on how to protect yourself, they have that information. They also have services like estate planning, other financial empowerment resources, So it's a really great worker protections, small claims support, and a mediation program as well. So they have a lot of different services, and in general, if you have any questions about county services, anything from mental health to economic development, anything really, I'm happy to connect you to the right folks. So I'm Pamela. I have cards on me. I have cards in the back. It's really nice to meet everyone, and I appreciate you coming out today. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam, for coming. I'm gonna give you guys a quick tip. Everybody who has a phone, and if there's somebody you want to have in case of emergency, put 911 next to their name. Put a little space and put 911. This is what I used to tell my students. But if somebody Google 911, those names will pop up first. See what I'm saying? So if you do have a lock on your phone and an emergency comes, LAPD can unlock it in case of emergencies. So keep those tips in mind, because if there's an emergency, who do you call? The reason why I say this, because I ran into church one day and somebody was the only person was sitting still in church. He was going through a diabetic coma. And I said, oh my God. So what am I to do? Usually I know everybody's relatives or somebody to call, but this time I did not know. I didn't know him really. And so I picked up his phone and I just started dialing numbers, but that may not be the number you want me to call in an emergency. So in case of emergencies, just pick somebody that you trust that will be your best interest and put 911 next to their name. Yeah, ICE. ICE, yeah, in case of emergency. That's in case of emergency, yes. You can do that too. You can do that. You can put ICE next to somebody's name. That means in case of emergency. Either one. But do something. Okay. Oh, that's better. Did everyone hear that? Okay, ICE means in case of emergency. So put ICE next to a person's name that you trust to answer questions in case of emergency. Okay. Say that again. Which one? The ICE? Yeah, just like if your name is, let me see, Opal. Opal, if I had your number, I have your number in my phone. If I put at Opal, I put a space. I put a space and I put ICE capital next to Opal's name. So in case I Googled ICE in my contacts, Opal's name would come up first. You see what I'm saying? So that's a good thing to do. And she's saying on her phone case, raise it up, she put a little label inside her phone case that says ICE. So in case of emergency, those names would come up first. And I would do at least 4 people. In case you can't get the first one, I do at least 4 people. So keep that in mind, because emergencies do happen. I saw a girl get hit on Manchester. All her stuff, people were starting to take all her stuff out of her car. And I stopped everybody from taking her stuff. And she had enough breath to tell me I could take her purse, and I took it to her dad's house and dropped it off. And so there's emergencies that do happen. So you have to put something in your phone that indicates who to call in case of emergency. Okay, you're welcome. Here you go. Got to go.
All right. I think that's it. Thank you very much for coming. And hopefully we look forward to hold more seminars so we can learn. And remember, if you're not coming for our classes, we have classes at several senior centers. So please ask the senior center near you if we have a class there. If we don't have a class there, you could attend the classes there. But also, most importantly, at our resource center on 54th and 2nd, we have classes and tech support from 12 noon to 5 Monday through Friday. You can come there and ask any questions or get help with anything that you want. Okay? Thank you for coming and have a wonderful weekend.